Welcome to the Cruz Report. This is episode number 6 with one of my main mans right here, my Joey G. We go back a long time. A lot of you guys will recognize him from BTG East Coast or his famous nipple video or the video where I just posted the other day where he drops all my boxes to the Titanic music.
Absolute classic.
But, yeah, we go back a long time. I mean, that was 2001, so 24 years, Joe.
It's been a long time.
24 years.
It's been a long time. We've been through some yeah.
We've had a lot of good moments. So we'll get into that. I think you have a great following. I think people love you. You're just a fucking big teddy bear, right?
Yeah, to some degree, I'll say that. Yeah.
So I want to give a little bit of an in-dive depth on even you growing up and kind of lead me all the way up to college, because me and Joe met my freshman year, his sophomore year in 2001 at UNC Pembroke. Shout out Braves.
Yeah.
Failed out twice. But no, give me a little bit. I know you've moved around. Father was military, so kind of take me through you growing up to your sophomore year.
Yeah, when we met. I'm a retired Air Force brat. Well, we're not really Army brats, but we're Air Force kid. My dad was in the Air Force, originally born and raised in Italy. So let's backtrack. Let's get ahead of myself.
He is
I was born and raised in Italy. My dad is full Italian. Long story short, we'll make it real compressed. He moved to the States, met my mom, joined the military. Ended up his first tour being in Florida and then going to Italy, and that's when I was born. And so that's where
I was raising my hand for a question.
Oh, okay. Well,
I don't want to interrupt you because Wendy said I do that a lot, but is your mom going to watch this?
Yeah, maybe.
Teresa.
Probably not.
Damn it.
Yeah, probably not.
I still love you, Teresa. That's my girl.
I'll tell her to watch, but whether
we'll
she
send
does
her
or
the
not,
link, man.
Sure.
I do. I've always loved your mom and your dad, but
yeah,
that chemistry me and your mom have is real.
It is real. You think she's hot? That hot redhead.
She's smoking. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I was, he ended up going to Italy because obviously that's where he's from. So when he had the opportunity to go, that's where he went, and that's when I was born and was in Italy for 6 years.
So are you a dual citizen?
I was a dual citizen until I had to choose at 18. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. So then we did 6 years there, grew up there, and then moved to North Dakota. Again, he was Air Force the whole time. He retired at 20 years. So we moved to North Dakota. We're there for 3 years. Moved back to Italy for another almost 7 years. And then moved to North Carolina. And so,
were you in high school by then?
So it would have been 96, ninth grade year. Yes, ninth grade year, high school.
My gosh.
So yeah, it was kind of crazy, man. You as a military kid, you come to a new school and you don't know anybody. Ninth grade, so it was pretty rough.
Why there? Did he get stationed at Pope?
Pope. Yep. And that's where he retired out. So we didn't move a ton because he spent most of his time in Italy, which was great for me growing up over there. Definitely gave me a different perspective on just culture, life, people. We did a lot of traveling and seen a lot of things and took advantage. A lot of people just go places and don't go anywhere.
Yeah,
they just sit and they just do their daily life stuff. But we took advantage of a lot, and obviously we had family there. So all his side of the family was still in Italy. So his mom, his dad, his sister, his brother, all the extended family. So we'd always go visit and hang out. So that was nice to have that upbringing with family. Moved to the States. Stayed in. Here in Fayetteville, for those just like with you, was in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and graduated in 2000, and then decided to go to Pembroke, good old Pembroke. So
man, changed my life forever.
Yeah, so that's kind of there's a whole ton of stuff that happened through my college career, but obviously 2001 is when we met, and that's kind of leads me to where you want me to be. So. Yeah. Honest
question. Have you ever had more fun in your life than the 2 or 3 years that we were there together at Pembroke?
No. There's growing up, I had a lot of great times.
Yeah.
So it was definitely, I'm when it comes to just, you hear your peers, you hear your friends, you hear other folks just talk about, they had such a bad childhood upbringing, just a bad situation, and I was blessed is the only way I can put it. So
you definitely have 2 good parents.
For sure, and just being in maybe that we talked about earlier, the isolation of just being in a military installation, and in a small military installation. Now, there's only, for 7 years, 2,000-3,000 people on that base. But anyway, So going to college, kind of the same thing. It was a small college. You
Yeah,
all
very
kind
much.
of get to know each other. You get to, there's not many people you walk through campus that you haven't seen before. You know what I mean? Like
For sure.
It was a more intimate setting than a college that has 10, 15,000 kids in it. Just great times. Another chapter of my life where it was amazing, and we had a lot of good times. I mean, going to the church and the haunted churches, amazing.
We'll get to those stories. So I don't know if I've ever told you this. This is the honest to God true story. It's honest to God. So my mom, I was 17 when she dropped me off at college. Like she had her own thing going on. I don't harbor any resentment, but she never came back. You never saw her.
Right.
So my very first night, if you remember, I had a roommate named John Ammons. He was the lefty baseball player for Pembroke.
Yes.
And he already had a bunch of friends on the team and people he was hanging out with. So they all went out the very first night, and I was starving, and I didn't have any more money for food, and I knew nobody there. I cried myself to sleep my freshman night in my bed.
No way.
Swear to God.
Wow.
But not shortly after that, we started playing basketball. I would go play pickup ball. Lee was in your suite, Lee Cadell.
Yep.
Lee was walking back with me one night and was like, God, this was when PS2s were out.
Yes.
He was like, hey, man, I got a PS2 and I got NCAA football. And I'm like, say less. So I stayed two suites over, I guess you would say.
Yep.
And I didn't really hang out with many people in my suite, but your suite had you, Larry, y'all were roommates.
Yep.
So I love Larry, even though he's a little hateful.
Yep.
Tron was there. Rob Cheddar, Bob, man, Rob McCormick.
The golf guy. What's his name?
Taylor.
Yep, Taylor.
Lee. Who was Lee's roommate?
The Hispanic kid.
Ellie.
Yeah, Puerto Rican.
Yes,
yeah.
the AOL messenger.
Yeah,
the Spanish messenger.
Yep.
So,
and I think that same year wasn't the Darren and what's his name in this suite?
Yeah,
in that year too?
Darren. Oh,
and then what's his other name?
Darren Goldbach and Justin Farley. Yeah, great dude. So we meet all these people, and ironically, Joe's from my hometown. Justin and them are from my hometown. Like, all of us are pretty well local boys.
Yeah, all from Fayetteville.
Lee was from like 40 minutes from us. But yeah, some of the best times of my life. I honestly, Joe was a good student. He was diligent. I was probably by far the worst in our group as far as going to class.
No, Rob and Tron. Rob
ended up graduating. It might have taken him 6 years, but he graduated.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just like, I was so much. I didn't know what was going on. Like, I was so lost. I mean, I didn't go to class. Y'all would beat on my fucking window and my air conditioner. We had the little window units, and I'd ignore that shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, we did some crazy stuff. I was going to share a couple stories. I told them out here earlier. One of my favorite stories ever is when we duct taped you to a chair.
Yeah.
And it ripped off all your fucking hair. We played I played an entire game of NCAA football while he is like pissed off in this chair.
Well, mind you, I got roped into coming into the room. Like, I don't even remember exactly how it went down, but it was.
You didn't want to play NCAA. You were being a bitch.
I was hanging out in my room. I was chilling.
You and Larry.
Yeah, I was just chilling, and next thing I know, okay, I'll come, and then and y'all just kept trying to get me to come in there, and I figured something was up.
Oh yeah.
The minute I sat in the chair, the duct tape came out, and like I think you sat on top of me, like three other people held my arms down onto the chair, and the minute
don't make it sound like we had a bunch. It was me and Lee. There might have been a third person.
I don't remember. I think
we used to wrestle a lot back then.
But what I remember from that, then I'll never forget, is the minute the tape came out and it hit my arm hairs.
It did rip your hairs off.
The minute it touched my arm hairs, I just gave up because it hurt so bad.
Yeah.
Like the tape on the arm hairs, and the minute I tried to pull away, it was like, oh! I just let you guys do it at that point. I was like, there's no fighting it because this hurts. Nothing hurt except for the fact that tape was straight stuck.
The only other thing that I loved that we did, and we always did it, was Joe. You were you like to be in your room. You liked your comforts. You liked your computer.
I'm still like that. Very particular about certain things. So I'm better now with kids, though. I am better now that I have kids. But
sure.
But yes.
So we used to all get together in Lee's room and be like, dude, we're going to go and we're going to pile on Joe. And it would be, I still have a picture on my phone where 4 or 5 of us jump all over you. Yep. JJ, Gary was hanging out with us at the time.
Yep.
Great dude. Left and went to the Marines. But so yeah, I was there. So I would have been there 3 years, but you ended up leaving, going to Western, and coming back. So I was only there with you for 2 years, actually.
Yep.
But 2 of the best years of my life. And we would do the stupidest shit. Like, I'm failing out of class. We have no money left. I just got I'm on academic probation, and I still took out more money, knowing I'm getting ready to get kicked out. I took out the max amount of loans, and we go to Charlotte and go to like NBA games.
Yeah.
Never been to a game before. I know I'm living on thin edge. We found this abandoned church in Aberdeen.
Well, Lee was from there, so Lee knew about it and brought and introduced us to it.
Well, if you remember, what happened was we were all failing. Lee was failing. I was failing. You were doing fine.
Yeah, I was fine.
And we found this haunted book thing, and it had like the Vander Light. It had all of these other Devil's Stomping Ground. And we had all these other things about like haunted things, and we happened to go visit. We would go back through Aberdeen because Lee's mom would buy us Chinese at the buffet.
We
were broke as shit.
Twice, yep.
So we go. She buys us Chinese. We mention what we're doing, and she's like, "Have you ever checked out the Bethesda Presbyterian Church?" That's what it was called. And it had the iron gates. Like, we go to this thing, and literally we drive up. Supposedly, it's an old church that it looks like a 2-story house. Supposedly, it was part of the Underground Railroad, and when they caught the slaves at this Underground Railroad, they hung everybody in the church, including the slaves, and then they
in the big oak trees.
Yeah, they did the grave right around the outside of this house. So supposedly, you walk around 3 times. Something's supposed to happen. So of course we're kids. We go out there. Were you there with us the very first night?
Yes, and not only that, mind you, just to kind of create the scene a little bit more. I mean, there's graveyard. It's a huge graveyard.
Yes.
So I mean,
massive.
There's probably 1,000+ graves in there. It's crazy how massive it was.
But do you we're 24 years later? Like, do you still believe that was haunted and that happened?
No, I still remember the night that we went that they saw the thing in the window, but then we kind of debunked it afterwards, saying it was one of the pillars that we were
all
seeing.
took off running. We never went back that night.
The AC unit that like all of a sudden just like went off, or the heater went off, but it's like it was summertime, so like why? Yeah.
You don't think anything happened?
I don't know.
I think it was haunted. Anyway, so we
crazy.
did a lot of stupid things. I ended up failing out of college. I believe I went to work at Walmart. You went to Western. You came back, finished your year. Me and you kind of had a falling out. And I will admit, I've always given you shit on it. But at that time, I wasn't talking to my family. I wasn't talking to a whole lot of people there. I was dating a girl that had me pretty wrapped up in her. And I had turned my back on these guys a little bit. Not intentionally, but I was working 40 hours a week at Outback. Then when I did have free time, I would hang out with her. And that kind of created a rift with me and you. And to make a long story short, because I'm sure you guys have heard the story of Joe kicking me out of his dorm room.
Yeah.
I came home one day, and this little fucking meathead Carney, who was a dork. He's a nice guy. I shouldn't say that, but Carney was a dork. They had gone to the like housing office and basically was like, I don't get along with my roommate. So they moved me upstairs, which actually it sucked because that was one of the darker times for me because I didn't have you guys. I broke up with her.
Yeah.
Didn't have you guys, and I didn't have my family. But looking back, man, like I wouldn't change any of it. I had to go through that hard time. Do you remember?
Well, that's what ultimately the connections were made. We had a rift at the time because obviously that's why we synced up again later on.
Yeah. So I go up there. I live up there. I got that bunny named Scooter. I don't know if you remember
I don't remember the rabbit.
They put me in a room by myself, which was cool. I still worked, and I ended up failing out that semester. I go home. It's probably a year or two, year and a half. Yeah. Hadn't heard from Joe. Kind of doing our own things.
Maybe been almost 2 years because it was Kelly's senior year when the accident happened.
And so Joe calls or texts me one day, and he's in the hospital at Duke Hospital. So
actually, I was at my house.
Oh, it was after.
It was after the accident. I was laid out, still couldn't do anything. But yeah.
But he had been med-flighted to Duke Hospital, had been in a bad accident, replaced your part of your hip.
Femur head was cracked, my arm was shattered. Yep, it was pretty bad.
And it kind of just one of those moments that wakes you up in life, and you start to realize like there's more important things than being angry or holding a grudge. You called me. You were like, you have a hard time doing this sometimes, like apologizing or admitting when you're wrong. But I think that moment woke you up like life is too short. So you were like, yo, I fucked up. Like, let's be boys. I came over. You had that big ass cat at your house, Garfield or whatever his name was.
Grant. Yeah.
Grant. It was the biggest cat I've ever seen.
After Grant Hill, you know what I mean?
And ever since then, man, it's been. I moved to Wisconsin. Things changed a little bit, but we've always been.
Well, you
pretty
ended up
tight.
standing out again, it just kind of. You stood up at my wedding, and then
you stayed at my house for the
stayed at your house. We had the bachelor party at your place, and
you
then
got bounced on
and then you met Wendy, and I hadn't seen you. And then you decided to move to Wisconsin. I was like, what happened?
You gotta when you know.
I know. No, it's obviously it's all great, but it's I was like, man, we just rekindled, and he's moving to Wisconsin.
It has. So I was in your wedding. When did you get married?
So it would have been 2008.
Yep. April what?
March of 2000. March 29th.
March 29th, I'm in his wedding. April 6th, I go on my first date with Wendy.
And like I want to say within 2 months you were heading to Wisconsin.
Yeah, it was that December, January.
Okay, so
but yeah,
8 months ish. Okay.
We went and visited 2 months ago, 2 months in, and then me and you kind of stayed in touch. We would always talk like business ideas. You were working for
cards,
US
AT&T. I worked at
AT&T.
Yep.
And
we'd always kind of sync up and talk about cards and talk about just endeavors in the future and stuff like that.
And then
and just what we're doing in life at the time.
I don't exactly remember how it came about, but this would have been 2019 with the BTG.
2018.
2018.
Yeah.
So 2018, me and Cerro are talking. He's kind of in the middle of a few different ideas. Started your own business with your thrift store.
I just left AT&T at the time.
I just was like, dude, like, you
got
to check this out.
And you were in the infancy of starting BTG, I want to say.
Yeah, we had just had the first, me and Derek were in the first room.
Yeah.
Because you were my second room.
Yeah.
So before BTG even became a thing, it was just me and Derek. I got to talking to Joe. We talked a little bit more. And I explained to him, like, dude, this could be really cool. And he's like, there's no way. Like,
no,
it can't happen. And I'm like, dude, you would be great for it. And honestly, I remember your hand shaking the very first time you went live. We did 0 helmets the first night.
We did, yeah.
1 the second night, like 0 the other night, and then you went 4 and it was gone.
Well, I still remember when you pitched it to me, and again, I think it took a little while. Again, it's just kind of like you, it's a little gray on how it all transpired exactly. But what I do remember is you pitched it to me, and I was like, I don't, like you said, I was very doubtful about it, and then I remember one night you finally, after maybe several weeks or a month or 2 or 3 down the road, we resynced up about it. You sent me the link to your room. I jumped in and I was like, just watching this whole thing happening, and I'm like, nuts. I was like, what is this? Like, what are we? And then you and I spoke that night, and you were like, dude, I think you did 17 helmets that night, and you told me how much you had made off of those helmets, and I was like, there's no way. Like, what? How does this? This doesn't seem real. So that's kind of what started the being intrigued. Seeing how cool it was, seeing how the guys were interacting, seeing how fun it was, and the fact that you were able to actually make it a business and make money doing it.
For sure. And honestly, I made a lot of bad hires. I made a lot of great hires. You're probably the easiest one. You're difficult and you're hard-headed at times, but you're steady, stays the course. You know what I mean? You do what you're supposed to do. You've always been there. And then to me, like, I've stepped away from BTG, so I feel like you would be the face of BTG at this point, from people knowing you so much. You have the best following of the guys that we have. You're the most consistent of the guys that we have. And the other guys do great, but you've just been there longer and you've done it longer.
Yeah, I would say Henry does a pretty. I mean, we'll say with Facebook, because Brett is its own animal with TikTok. So he's doing a wonderful job. But Henry's done a really good job too. And yeah, I think my tenure does help a lot. The fact that just the establishment of the room and me being the face of the room, because we haven't had any real changes in almost 7 years.
For sure. Yeah, it's crazy to think it's been that long.
Yeah.
What would you say are some of the challenges that people don't realize, because they only see it from their end? They see the finished product. They see you getting their line, and like even now driving here, picking up helmets and all this stuff. What would you say are some of the things that people don't really realize about what we do in our industry that's harder than people think it is?
A few things I could touch on. I mean, growing.
Growing's hard.
Growth used to be so much easier, and we've talked about this over the years. Growth used to be so much easier. It used to, you only had really Facebook, and then now with all the other platforms and attention being taken from Facebook to all these other avenues, that growth makes it hard on Facebook. I'm not, obviously
for sure.
TikTok. So I
think it's algorithm. I don't know what it is. I think it's algorithm and all this other stuff. But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I think, and we talked about this before. I think part of it is we kind of, and we didn't know this at the time, but the fact that we created the groups as private kind of always is giving us a little crutch. And there's no way, once it's private, you can't change it.
For sure.
So we'd have to just start over, which
wouldn't be
the end of the world, but it'd be tough.
The reason we went private, just to explain to you guys, is that there were so many scammers and so many people that were taking advantage of people. If we made it private, we could single-handedly dictate who comes in and who doesn't.
And a follow-up to that also is, we also, at the time, breaking was kind of like an underground kind of thing.
Yes.
Where now it's mainstream. I mean, Fanatics does it and whatnot, and TikTok, and it's everywhere now. Where back then
it was hard to imagine, like, you are an expert in your field, like you're the top 1% of breakers probably.
I don't feel that way just because there's so many people out there now doing it.
I guarantee people have not done it as long. Most
No, I agree with that, but it's just crazy. There's so many, and there's so many bad ones, and people just the sad thing is people just don't know what's good and bad. Almost customers just don't know what's good and bad.
I say this all the time. Our hardest job is educating the market.
Yeah.
Like I use this analogy, and I've probably said it in another podcast, but if I went into the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Atlanta Falcons, and they gave me a mic, I said, raise your hand if anybody here would want to sign jersey. There ain't a motherfucker in that place that wouldn't raise their hand. They don't know how accessible it is. They don't understand that we've broken it down to the point where the average person can be a part of it.
Right.
The PE teacher can win a jersey or a helmet. That was the entire premise of what we were doing.
Right.
But yeah, give me one or two other challenges.
Say,
I'm gonna throw some questions at you. And
yeah, I would say the other thing with as far as challenges go is and not really challenge, but what's difficult about what we do, and that people just see us on camera and it's like, oh, that's it's easy, it's this, that, and third. Well, then you do it, because it's not. There's a lot that happens behind the scenes, and what I mean by that is, like, you've got to be customer service, and you've said it from
100%.
day one. Customer service. Well, what does that mean? Well, in our world, it means that you're on call to your customers every minute of every day.
Yeah.
Like, I would say, out of all the customers that watch this, and you guys can actually comment, which I would actually like this for folks that have played with me. Comment, let us know in the YouTube comment section, how many of you guys have gone probably more than 4 hours or so, 6 hours without hearing from me when you've asked me a question.
I went like 3 weeks into December.
Shut your face. Okay, that was. But truth be told, like 95% of the time I'm on it, man. Like, when a customer messages me within usually 10, 15 minutes or less, they've got to reply, and if they have a problem, again, I'd like to, comment away. How many times have you had an issue with me that I was able to resolve? I don't have very many over the years, but when it does happen and there is a problem, we have a defect on a helmet, it's always, we take ownership, and we take care of it. And so those things on the back end, dealing with Radke, dealing with customers, being available to your customers all the time. You could be at lunch, you could be at dinner, you could be playing with the kids, you get a ping on your phone, anniversary, you could be out on vacation, out at the lake. I'm still communicating with customers.
For sure.
So that definitely, I'm not to say that's difficult, but that certainly is something unique that most other industries, like I was a manager at AT&T. Once I left, like, if one of my agents needed me for something, they would reach out, but it was very, very far and few between.
You left work at work.
For the most part.
Yeah.
I still had to sometimes take my laptop home and do a few little odds and ends or tie up some loose ends.
Not like this.
But not like this.
Yeah.
It's totally different. And again, that separates you from just, an average breaker or somebody that really doesn't care as much versus somebody that does care about what they're doing. So that would be another one that I would say.
The sucky part on my end is I feel like I only put out fires. Because if you can handle it, you guys handle it on 99% of the level. But if there's something that needs to be a higher calling, it's like, I got to make those tough calls, or I've got to put you guys in the position to make the right call.
Right.
So that leads me to something I kind of wanted to bring up. I don't know where we're at on time, so we'll keep it a little shorter. But tell me something you personally would like to change about yourself from a braking aspect. Improvement. Something you would like to improve on from a braking aspect that you haven't done yet.
Something that I haven't done that I can improve on a braking standpoint.
I could give you one.
Honestly, I would love to. I'm sure I probably know where you're going, but every day I look at my setup and I'm like, I wish I could have, like, I want to move into a different house that I've got way more space, where I can spread out and have a better setup and have more space to move around and maybe do some other things. Just I don't know what things, but to be a little bit more creative in what I'm doing on camera.
Yeah, I like that.
And have the ability to possibly cross over to, like, TikTok and try those things as well. Because my space is very confined, and half of my room, you've been in that upstairs, the other half of my room is now just all either, it's a lot of eBay stuff, because I do that as well.
Yeah,
so it's
or
just,
shit you've kept from 1999.
It's a lot of my collectibles and stuff, yes.
So my what I was going to say, and you hit it on the head, is I would love to see you be more receptive to change. Joe,
Fair.
And I am not exaggerating you.
Fair.
That motherfucker had the same mouse, like keyboard and mouse.
Yeah, the trackball.
For 20 years. He replaced the ball on it. It's like 1999.
Yeah, the trackball. Well, you came in my house when the
I threw all that shit away.
So
he had his surround sound was 2 Target speakers that broke apart from the speakers.
No, folks that know the Iowa surround sound systems from like the late 90s, from the late 90s, early 2000s were the jam. But it was a little janky. It was from college. It was my upstairs bonus room.
This was in 2017. We were in college.
This was my little hangout spot, so it didn't matter. He comes in and he's like, "We got to get rid of all this shit. You got to get the little TV. We got to get a new TV.
You had a tube
you got to get a
like
surround
the big
sound
TV, like the one that bubbles out and the fucking remote comes out.
No, I didn't have that bad of a TV. The stereo was old school. And I didn't have.
I got you
again,
a new TV.
I
got you a
you ended
surround
up getting
sound,
me a PS4.
Yeah,
PS3, PS4.
I wanted to buy your friendship.
Here, I was like, I was blown. Like, what are we doing here, man? Did
you upgrade though?
Yeah.
Is it nicer?
Yeah.
Okay, so and you still have all of that, right? This was 7 years ago.
Well, the Vizio surround sound kind of the subwoofer blew up, but
gotcha.
I fixed it though because that's what
I know. Speaking of fixing, my refrigerator that you fixed is still leaking. But
is
anyway,
it really?
We'll talk about it later.
We'll figure that out.
Yeah, we'll get a new one. So, one thing about me, what would you like to see me do better, or take more ownership of, or something that I can improve?
I hate to echo.
No, come on, hit it hard.
I know.
Hit that motherfucker hard.
But I'm echoing what Brett kind of already touched on. Just two things. One, and it's a double-edged sword, and Brett kind of touched on this. What's the word I'm looking for? Your ambition to do something else instead of making sure what you have is or just settling down a little bit more on what you're alady doing.
Yeah.
So your ambition.
I think Wendy would say that. I think my kids would say that.
Yeah, and again, that's not a good or a bad thing. That possibly has led you to where you are today.
That's what I was saying. So we're not sitting in this building if I don't have that as well.
Look, I like I said, it can be a blessing and a curse at the same time.
You live by the 3, you die by the 3, bro. That's how it goes.
Just your attention to staying focused on certain things, like. It's mind blowing how you're all over the place, and it's been like that since college. So I can't. It's not like you just started today. It's been like that since college. Like you are 1 minute, let's go play basketball, and the next minute it's let's go dinner, and the next minute it's let's play PlayStation 2, and we're just like, what are we doing here? What's happening? Or
I definitely get sidetracked.
Yeah.
But I don't think I can help it. I think we're all born.
Your mind constantly moves.
My God gave me like 2 abilities. That's it. I promise you. Like, I don't know how I got Wendy. I don't know how people like me. So I have 2 freaking abilities. One is the ability to communicate and connect with people.
Yeah.
And the other ability is just to be creative.
Or your charismaticness.
But I suck past the creative part. Like, I know the idea. I know what we want to do. To carry it out, so I gotta have an Aaron. I gotta have a Jordan.
The execution part. Yeah. I got you.
I suck at execution.
I'm not good at that part either.
But no, man, I just wanted to kind of give guys a little deeper dive into you, me, how this started, how you came about with BTG. You have a great following. I have a great following. I've been waiting to do this with you because we do have a good chemistry. We've got a lot of stories. I could sit here for another hour on the podcast. We just tell stories.
Yeah.
There's some stories you asked me not to share that I won't.
Yeah, and there is a lot of different types of stories, good, bad, and indifferent.
Yes, but.
Yeah.
No, it's been a genuine friendship. It's not always easy on my end to navigate being your friend and also trying to be
your boss,
a peer. I don't use the boss term. I've never. Okay. You ever heard me call you?
No,
your boss?
You're right. I'll give you credit for that. You've always said more of a peer.
You're my peer. At the end of the day, yes, I have to make a tough decision, but I don't micromanage you. I let you do your thing. If you don't want to make any changes, we don't make any change. Like. I try to be, as easygoing as possible,
and I always appreciate your insight, and I may not always take your insight and run with it,
not ever. But
no, that's not true. Early on, I took a lot of your direction.
I know where you were doing well then. But no, anyway, it's always going to be a friendship. I know I'll have you on more. What I'd like to do, after we do a lot of these sit downs and I introduce the team, is get a lot of content and footage outside of this.
For sure.
I appreciate you accepting today that you're going to record some stuff on the golf trip for us. So
Maybe.
No, I need you, Joe. I fucking need you. Don't do that to me.
Well, I got to be part of it. If I'm behind the camera, then you're gonna miss all the good stuff.
But we'll have somebody else hold it and we can
okay.
watch you get drunk.
We'll see.
But anyway, man, I appreciate
And then I'm gonna
you
be on the
stopping-
internet forever, like throwing the box in the air and
That's fine. That's what we do.
yeah.
That's we.
That's a good- that one is a classic. That one
one's good.
To this day is a
I will
classic.
eventually one day when I learn how to edit, put a montage together of all the shit you've done. But no, man, I
You got to
appreciate
do it
you.
quick because Facebook's losing. After 30 days, they're deleting all videos here soon.
I think you can save them permanently.
You can.
You can choose,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's a space thing, dude. There's probably a billion videos on that thing.
Yeah.
But no, man, I appreciate you stopping in. I'll be here with you for the next couple of days. Hopefully, we'll get some content.
Yeah.
With some of the new cameras and new toys that we have that Philip brought us from Creative Brands.
Shout out, Creative
But
Brands.
no, guys, if you enjoy this, and I know a lot of these have been sit downs, I want you to know who our team is. I want you to know who's around me, why we make the decisions we make, who we have on our team, so that when you see them out and about and you see me hit Joe with a golf ball on the golf course, you know who he is. You've seen the story. So I appreciate each and every one of you. Like, subscribe, follow. Again, this is Cruz Report, Episode 6, brought to you by Creative Brands. We couldn't do it without them.
7?
7. Shit. Episode 7.
You're
Thank
good.
you, guys. You're the man.
Too easy.